In June 1942, the Pacific War reached a decisive turning point at a small, remote atoll called Midway. What unfolded there would become one of the most dramatic naval battles in history, a moment when the United States, still reeling from the shock of Pearl Harbor, struck back with unexpected force and changed the direction of the entire war. The story began months earlier. After smashing Allied forces across Southeast Asia and sinking much of the U.S. Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor, the Japanese Empire seemed unstoppable. Their navy, the most powerful in the world, controlled vast stretches of ocean. Tokyo's leaders believed that another devastating blow could cripple the United States completely. Their target, Midway Atoll, a tiny American base northwest of Hawaii. If Japan captured Midway, they could threaten Hawaii directly and force the United States into surrender. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, architect of the Pearl Harbor strike, planned a massive operation. 4 of Japan's strongest aircraft carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, were assembled along with battleships, cruisers, and destroyers. Yamamoto believed the attack would take the Americans by surprise, but he was wrong. American cryptographers had cracked portions of Japanese naval code. Commander Joseph Rochefort and his team discovered that AF, a mysterious location mentioned in Japanese communications, actually meant Midway. Admiral Chester Nimitz now knew the exact time and place of Japan's attack. For the first time since Pearl Harbor, America was ready. Nimitz prepared an ambush. His aircraft carriers, USS Enterprise, USS Hornet, and the damaged but still fighting USS Yorktown, waited northeast of Midway, hidden on the open sea. On June 3, 1942, the Japanese began their operation. Bombers and fighters launched toward Midway, expecting little resistance. But the Americans on the island fought fiercely. Anti-aircraft guns roared. U.S. Marine pilots scrambled into the sky, many flying outdated aircraft, but refusing to yield. The first day was brutal. Midway burned. Fuel tanks exploded. Runways were cratered. But the Americans bought time that would change everything. On June 4, Japanese commanders prepared a second strike on the island. Their carriers were crowded with fully fueled aircraft loaded with bombs. The decks were dangerously exposed. Yamamoto believed the American fleet was nowhere nearby. But he did not know that U.S. carriers were already racing toward him. From the American decks, waves of torpedo squadrons launched first. They flew low, slow, and faced horrific odds. Japanese Zero fighters tore them apart. Almost every torpedo plane was shot down. The sacrifice was devastating. Yet it was not in vain. The Japanese fighters had descended to sea level to attack the torpedo planes, leaving the sky above unprotected. That was the moment U.S. dive bombers arrived. At 10:22 a.m., dive bombers from the Enterprise and Yorktown burst through the clouds, unnoticed until the last second. Below them, the decks of the Japanese carriers were packed with bombs, torpedoes, and fuel hoses. It took only minutes. Bombs slammed into Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu. Massive explosions ripped through their hangars. Flames engulfed aircraft. Sailors leapt overboard to escape the inferno. 3 of Japan's elite carriers were destroyed almost instantly. Only Hiryu remained. Hiryu struck back fiercely, launching 2 waves of counterattacks that severely damaged the USS Yorktown. Smoke billowed from the ship, yet the crew fought desperately to keep her afloat. Despite their efforts, Yorktown would eventually sink. But the victory was already slipping away from Japan. In the afternoon, American dive bombers found Hiryu. 2 direct hits turned her into a blazing wreck. By nightfall, all 4 Japanese carriers were sinking. The heart of the Imperial Japanese Navy had been destroyed. When the battle ended on June 7, Japan had lost 4 aircraft carriers, 1 cruiser, 248 aircraft, over 3,000 sailors. The United States lost the Yorktown and about 300 servicemen. The toll was heavy, but the strategic impact was massive. Midway was not just a battle won, it was a war transformed. For Japan, the defeat was catastrophic. Their elite pilots, trained for years, could not be replaced quickly. Their carriers, symbols of their power, were gone forever. The empire switched from offense to defense, forced to retreat island by island for the rest of the war. For the United States, Midway boosted morale across the nation. Factories roared with new energy. Soldiers and sailors felt hope replacing despair. Newspapers called it the miracle at Midway. Historians later described it simply: before Midway, Japan expanded. After Midway, Japan shrank. The battle at a tiny atoll in the middle of the Pacific Ocean became the turning point of World War II's greatest naval conflict. America had struck back, and the tide of war would never be the same again.